every round. We talk about the land jitters and all that other stuff. This is a stage, we're only in round 3 right now on day 1, and they are starting to make something out of it. Meanwhile, you can see on the mini-map, it's actually going to be Hypoc that's got somebody right on top of him, and it's going to be Mystery that catches him out. But the E United guys are now getting to get a little bit of vengeance back towards Crew as they had to make that same pass a second ago. You can tell the Crew guys not necessarily too happy to be where they're at, but Oxy now making an approach right up next to Vicious Gaming.
Vicious had to take care of the P1 Esports guys, but they had Oxy pushing it right behind him. Protege gets taken very, very low. They're still 4 strong, but they have 2 sides, their east and their west, that they have to take care of before they try to cross this street to get into the next circle.
Everybody's forced to be playing on edge right now, except for a couple of people that are still inside the safe zone, most notably the happy campers who are perfectly happy camping where they're at the direct time. So all of these teams are just getting sight lines on top of each other, and it's going to be Adapt that actually has this hillside position that they can just look back down. Everybody trying to make their way just onto the edge of the circle. Look at how much utility, how many smokes, meds are having to be used just to try to make the cross to get inside the safe zone.
It's unfortunate that the terrain is the way it is right here. They're having to run downhill. They don't have anything to really hide behind. They have a small rock there. You can see Adapt still 4 strong. Oxy has 1 down. Otherwise, we have 4 teams that have 4 players remaining as they are just getting eaten alive by Adapt right now on the top of the La Bendita crater.
I mean, it's just bullets coming from everywhere right now. Just gonna, I can see everybody's trying to flush every kill that they get because they know there's so many different firing angles on it. Somehow, some way, Moody is still alive right over there next to the Adapt guys.
He's surviving, man. He's like, dude, you got one of me. You didn't know the other one was still alive.
Oh, Player 1 Esports runs right into the last guys from Vicious Gaming. They still have 3, but now they have to run in that same path that we were talking about a second ago, running across the open road with no cover in sight, just trying to make it over there. One of them does make it to the burnt out wreckage of 1 car. Dash is still way out in the background there, but you just can't go for reses here.
They can do
Adapt is getting so many kills here, right? They've only got 4 total, actually. I thought they had way more than that.
There's a lot of people that are taking their flushes. It's actually THC. They're down below them. Every single time they get it down, THC's like, oh, I'll just go ahead and take that. Thank you so much. So it's kind of like a firing range, as you can see that we do have on the mini-map. It's Adapt just lined up, and then THC right down below them. So the VG guys are just trying to make their way. They're like, please just let me inside the safe zone, and it's not going to happen for them.
All right.
We got a couple of guys from Crew down to the south there. You know, they're just chilling. They're like, all right, we hear all the gunfire. Let's just see what his next circle goes.
Well, remember, they just had to make that cross a second ago where everybody shot at them, and they're like, no, we're just going to sit here. We don't even want anybody to remember that we exist in this location.
Oh, of course.
Oh, so new circle pops. The happy campers feeling really, really good right now.
Happy campers, they have to know that Adapt was at the top of this ridge right here. So what is Adapt going to do? You have to push down into this.
This is really, really important to note. Whenever we look back down, you can see that there are a couple of windows that face back up towards Adapt Way. But from that complex, it's actually kind of hard to defend across that hillside. So we're going to have to be taking some very risky peeks off of it. Meanwhile, Adapt actually having to fight multiple teams. If they do have to cross down this hill, which is going to happen in about 40 seconds or so, they're going to have a ton of teams that are looking back up their way because they're going to be cresting on one of the highest points of the map. But they got the Murados to work with.
I tell you,
gonna make a lot of noise. Let's go.
You know who's feeling really happy about this circle is J-Sank, the last remaining player for Oxy. He's still in there. He doesn't have to worry about any of this nonsense that's popping off to the west. But Adapt has to figure out something to do here.
We haven't seen any vehicle fortifications really come into play yet through the rounds. And so if we still have a couple of vehicles left up for Adapt, they might just try to take their vehicles. Yeah, you can see that they're all loading up right now. They're going to drive down, try to make a wedge building fortification for themselves. Blow themselves up. Are they going to crash it?
Boy, here we go.
That brave. You can see taking the shots onto it. And yes, they're just going to step out. That's going to be Charity as the first one down. As it is just Charity lined up perfectly onto this. Now the Broncos coming rolling down the hillside, but something does manage to survive. Moody is back behind him, though. That could be absolutely huge as it is. It's going to be Moody that gets it down in the flush onto it. So there's still one member left from Adapt who had to make a hard, terrible cross down that hillside, and THC defends it so well.
Yeah, that was beautiful stuff. Everyone trying to get some THC, but THC holding it down.
Oh, you see Crew having to leave their spot. Minifridge is going to pop one of them. He gets down Mystery. Moody's still trying to make his way up here, though. He's going to have to make his way through THC. Charity's already down.
But with this, you can see Charity is down on the outside of this. We've got Minifridge that's caught up in this fight on the outside. This might distract. Everybody from THC is starting to look that direction. Is the grenade going to actually land? It looks like it's going to at least... Oh, it does get Mystery! So now Leda is just getting out of dodge right now. He's like, how did that even happen? That's going to be such a dangerous res to go for. Minifridge Jr. is just trying to survive right now. Going to go ahead and flush it out. J-Sank's got the smoke right next to him, but Leda is caught up looking back over towards Minifridge Jr. With all this firefight, finally Moody does get spotted out as he's trying to run back down inside the safe zone.
Mini Fridge, I can't believe he's staying alive this long. He's using the smoke wall to make his way into circle.
This is crazy.
He's right on the other side of the hill from Leda, and meanwhile, J-Sank also down in the bottom. So how much trouble can Moody cause? Not enough.
Charity.
It's going to be THC. 4 strong, making their way into this final, the next circle.
They got to get out of their compound, though.
They might have just like a little bit of a foothold.
This could be crazy. They could lose this, though.
If you're a 4-man team, you have to know. You can do the math up on the top of it. They don't know how many teams are left, but they know that there's still 7 alive, so they have the numbers advantage. It's 3 independent solos, all holding different angles, but they're starting to go after each other. As Leda still wanting to get a little bit of vengeance back on Mini Fridge Jr. for just a second ago. So just raining down a couple of nades there. And it's going to be Adam that spots out Mini Fridge Jr., who was holding up that valiant attempt, but with that, Leda and J-Sank, they're going to have to figure out how they want to make any plays around this.
They know exactly where Leda is, because Leda's just hiding behind that Murano right now. He hadn't shot the tires out either, so I think they could shoot him underneath of it. But right now, J-Sank has managed to stay alive all the way to the end here for Oxy. Part of that crazy cross from the north side from Minas Generalis. He's still alive. He might be able to get his team second here.
All right,
I think THC is going to start rushing in a second.
Well, they still have the walls to play around, so they're trying to gather whatever information that they can.
Look at these Muranos.
They're just parked out there.
Pick a Murano to shoot next to.
Yeah, just go a direction at this point. J-Sank actually realizing that might be a downside for him. Running forward, pan deflection comes through and really saves him right there. So he's going to drop back down, but with that, his position is given away. Now, keep in mind, the THC guys, they don't know if it's a duo. They don't know if it's 2 solos. The only thing that they know is they have numbers advantage. They've only seen 1 player at this time, so they have to start realizing, okay, this might be a solo out, 2 different Murados, probably trying to make different angles over here. That was a Hail Mary grenade. We already knew that was going to be a little bit, that was going to be hard to hit. I don't even think it's possible to throw it that far.
Happy Campers,
I know, right?
In great position here. I mean, I think it's obvious at this point that they're going to take this win. Now the question is, who is going to get second place? Leda, you see, taking out those tires like we talked about, so he doesn't get shot underneath it.
But here's the problem: he took the shots at the tires. They saw it pop. Now they know exactly where he's at.
They knew where he was.
Well, they had to have a rough idea, but now they know where at least the rough location of 2 different members are. But you can tell right now we're on the first day. Everybody's want to make sure that they secure this. That's why THC not necessarily being the most active as of yet.
Well, they're being active now.
Now coming alive, they're just going to start sweeping around the outside of the circle.
J-Sank loses the 50-50 battle of which direction THC was going to wrap.
All right, I don't know. J-Sank, this could be your opportunity. Also, Leda, if he hears this firefight, he might step up into it. A lot of shots coming out. J-Sank gets the down on the 1, gets the down on 2 of them. If you're Leda right now, you have to see this. Can you hit the shots onto it? It's so close. Leda
takes out Jay.
Can you get involved in this? There's only 1 minute left. Leda, can you do anything off of this? He's looking around. Does he have any nades to work with? Gets the flush onto 1 of them. Starting to realize there's too many people off of it. And yes, this is down to 1v1. Leda has to drop down.
Health.
He's so low on life, but Leda knows he has to get this.
Does he have a grenade?
Off of it. I don't think that we see any utility with him yet.
Doesn't look like
Levi wants to go for this res back over here. He wants to at least get 1 person off of it, but that means that Adam is not really going to have a lot of time to make anything work with this. Leda's trying to get some type of angle off of it. The longer he waits, the more people are going to be able to get reses, get meds off. The longer Leda waits, this is going to turn so much harder for him. He just wants to hit some type of shot back over
there it is.
And he gets it back down to a 1v1.
He's
going for the spray.
Finish the kill.
It's going to be the Happy Campers.
Win.
The Happy Campers get the round, but a valiant attempt coming out from J-Sank there towards the end.
THC for the win, and the winner win a chicken dinner. That was an impressive round. They had the circle, man. It just kept on landing on them.
Oh my God! I don't know if I don't know if that was greed from J-Sank or maybe just a little bit of confusion. He saw the down player, tried to flush that instead of getting the guy that was still up Levi with the great angle.
Yeah, I mean, we had J-Sank that did that first hold, that got that double down. You saw Leda that got that paid attention to it, so Leda then tried to capitalize off of it, and it was just a rotation based off of it. I mean, it's really hard at this stage. Whenever you're playing for it, you've got the crowds being loud down there, and you got everybody that's cheering, and you have to go, okay, do I make the play? You know, nerves start really becoming a big factor in that.
J-Sank. I mean, I know I got the name wrong. Leda almost coming in with the clutch win there, but J-Sank.
No, there was 2 clutch plays right there.
J-Sank with a 1v4. He got 3 of them before finally getting finished off by Levi. Leda did take that opportunity to try to push in there. He got 1 of them, but then he managed to pull Levi off of the res there, and then he just kind of pulled back a little bit because he got taken so very low. He had to get the heal off, but that allowed Happy Campers the time to get the res and come up ahead in that fight.
Yeah, the res there was so so important.
Yeah.
And, you know, we were talking about the attrition mid-game. If you just had one nade, just one nade,
yeah.
one molly,
One
anything.
nade.
It's just utility as it burns down slowly and steadily through those games. You're like, I wish I hadn't wasted it at this point, or I wish I still had that smoke that I had to use earlier.
I got to tell you, though, after that game, the Happy Campers have to be wiping the sweat from their brow thinking, oh my God, we almost lost that one, but we got it. First place, 400 points, and plus a nice sack of kills to go on top of it.
That's significant.
I mean, you could tell that, like you were talking about how sweaty it was because they just kept rotating down after down after down, and that just compounds the stress in a situation like that.
Yeah, and you know, I think the other interesting story from that whole round for me was just Cloud9, right? We saw early on, you know, the early kills with K-Mine and Profi, and then all of a sudden Moody making it all the way around later in the game, gets, I think, the 4th place finish for the team. That's fantastic for them.
I can't wait to hear what Toffees and Cam are going to be talking about regarding the K-Mine play, whether or not. I'll go ahead and set you guys up for that one.
I mean, there's so much to talk about from this game, though, as well. I mean, that was such a tough end circle there, where there's so much. I mean, on Miramar, to have it end on somewhere where it's just nothing but a flat, open plain. I mean, all those teams from the north just screwed, essentially.
It's so rare. And so naturally it comes down to, we were talking about utility of vehicles and those style of things. That's what kind of put Envy into their bad spot, is they just decided that they were going to foot push down the side of it. They had Wildcard and Player One Esports that were just waiting there for them. And so that's why we talk about, like, PUBG is essentially a game of decisions.
Yeah.
And so you have to make sure and watch how each one of these decisions stacks into each one of these rounds and plays through each circle.
Well, I know Toffees loves to talk about that. They love it. They're just feasting on that stuff. But right now, all we got to say, Happy Campers, first place, 400 points to go along with the whole.
Perfect timing, Poro. That's all we do have to say, because guess what? We do have Seltzer that's down on the floor, meeting up with the guys from the Happy Campers. Seltzer, go ahead and let us know what happened in that last round.
Thank you so much, guys. I got Jay All Day TV down here on the floor from the Happy Campers. And you must have been thrilled as campers to have that great positioning throughout this match. Tell me a little bit about how you chose where you were going to hang out and how that played out for you.
We do what we typically do. We just started in Power Grid, which is our normal drop spot, as most of these guys already know. We then proceeded to scout from the top high vantage point we have on the rocks up there. And then we scouted that graveyard was clear, crashed that, made sure that it was clear before moving any further. From there, we had Charity push up on foot, our IGL. He pushed up on foot, noticed the next compound was clear, and we just like domino affected our way. Noticed that we could get there. We had 2 hold up on Bendita, and then the other 2 crashed. And then once they said it was clear, we had a team pull up behind us, so we had to just hurry up and get in there, so we did.
Well, it sounds like great communication, great movement. Talk to me a little bit about THC and the relationship with the kill count.
What aspect of it? Like,
is it important for you guys in your strategy for the 4 of you to maintain a high kill count? Is that something you go after at all, or is it all about positioning, all about where you are on the map?
Okay, honestly, right now, it just depends on positioning, depends on the zone. Like, if we get favored as much as we did there and we have the ideal position, then we just mainly make sure that we keep 4 up. That way we can get a win like that, where we were able to use us being 4 up, push those solos, wrap around. We almost lost it. Jay Sank, oh my God, dude. That grows is nuts. But we were able to take advantage of that. Other than that, yeah.
Yeah, give me a little insight into that last fight there. That was a little bit dangerous for you guys. You almost lost it, but you pulled through.
Honestly, that was a bit of communication error. Someone said that he was on the close ridge, so I just started pre-firing the grass. Noticed he was a bit further, and then after that, Leafy was able to come out on top. He started the res, started taking some shots, was smart enough to move and then get at him. I crawled out to take fire away from the team that were up. That way they can, you know, take advantage of him shooting at me.
Well, you guys got great brains working on the team here. It seems to give it a really clear perspective on what you need to do to stay in the game. We've got one more match for you coming up today. You guys feeling ready?
Oh, we're ready. We already planned to get 2 in a row here.
I'm excited to see that. You guys at home, I hope you're excited as well. We got a quick commercial break. We'll see you right after that.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to the NPL Stadium for the preseason. We're back from our 6 minutes of silence. My name's Toffies. I'm joined by the Cammy D. And the first thing we have to talk about is Matchman Poro insisted that we speak about the K-Mind situation. So they tried to show Zen, I think, how much stronger they were with that drive-by, but it didn't quite work out, did it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I always say, if you try and flex, sometimes if you try too hard, you can end up pulling a muscle.
That's definitely what happened. K-Mind did a little bit of a switch to the back seat for those of you who missed it, and got shot right out of it instead of just keeping driving. Sometimes you just got to run away. It's the best choice.
In Cloud9, they felt super confident coming into today and just thought that they could kind of roll over everyone, but you can see that their limits are getting met.
Yeah, and I mean, a violent style of play meets its match with, I think, the story of this game, which was a story of attrition.
Exactly.
It was a tough circle, a lot of open space, not a lot of places to move. We saw United, at one point, had the best spot on the map, right smack in the middle, but by simple circle movements, they got to a space where they just couldn't go anywhere without being destroyed.
Because there was so much open area between all the different compounds, the only way to really break into the circle if you were outside of it was to loosen up, if not fully wipe another squad inside the circle to then bomb in. And if you're not able to do that, it's just a death rush.
And that's the danger of Miramar. As Miramar wraps up, though, Cameron, we're going back to Erangel for the last game of the day. How do these teams, do they have to reset their brains as they transition over to a totally different style of play? Is it a different style of play?
I mean, it is different. Miramar and Erangel are certainly different maps, but the core mechanics of the game are the same. And let's be honest, people love Erangel more than like Miramar. They've been playing it longer. It's basically everyone's preferred map if they had to pick one of the two. So it's likely, I'm assuming, to be easier jumping from Miramar back to Erangel than vice versa.
Now, before we jump back to Erangel, let's take one last look at Game 3 over on Miramar.
So here is Player One Esports actually doing a little bit of a swap here. You can see actually at this moment, they swapped the player that they picked up, made sure that he went inside the front, put the player with the helmet on the back because, well, no helmet, you're easier to get taken out. But this is an explosive take by YTEM Fade onto Elder Wolves. One nade to finish it all out.
Absolutely. Don't mess with WTF is the nature of the game. However, they still didn't have a great performance, finishing in 9th place. What WTF seems a little bit off of what they expected to do. So look at them going to the next one, performing pretty well. Here is some play by Envious. They take shots at Noble on the drive by Boom, and will just live up to Boom's name and can't seem to survive this.
This is always the risk of playing on the edge like Noble have been doing this whole day, especially this game. When you come in too late, if you have no positional control, you just drive through another team and get torn apart, and there's really nothing that Noble could have done in that situation.
They may be called Noble, but their rotations have been like peasants so far. They need to pick up that game. Jump over to Adapt, a dark horse for me that has been proving their value time and time again. Playing excellent. They took the high ground here. It's all the only chance they had. Mini Fridge and everyone else putting in a ton of work to at least try to lock up a better position in this map.
Yeah, and they get a couple of kills from this position as well. You always want to get those points, but THC, unfortunately, were just unable to get unseated from that large compound. You can see the first attempt here, a little bit sloppy of one. They run right into a line of fire, and you can see the spray down is easy peasy from THC.
It is, but you got to remember they also, that push by Adapt to the left allowed a run by Adapt to the right?
Yes.
That bought some time for Mini Fridge to try and slide down here. He got to cover and pushes right up on, I believe that's Crew, gets a really nice grenade that ultimately may have cost them the game, because if they had had 2 going into that last fight, that would have been an easy peasy.
Yeah, Mini Fridge, he also drops the smoke immediately because he knows he didn't finish off Crew. He needed some sort of vision defense so he wasn't immediately sprayed down. It bought him a little bit of time. He didn't last too much longer from that position. But here we go. We want to talk about this car play as well.
THC made the car smoke black, so the Crew only had one choice. Blow it up so they can't be caught using it for cover later. That revealed his position. Immediately you see THC push out and start to sweep, but Lata, wow, gets the amazing start to spray, gets 2 knocked down, but instead of pushing, he heals, allows a res, does get the follow-up knock, but ends up going out there at the end. So the question I have for you, Cameron.
Yes.
You know, I joked about 6 minutes of silence when we came back, but at the end of the day, he was low on health. 2 players are down. He had just gotten that, I think it was a Groza double kill.
Yeah.
Do you push there? He didn't have any utility, so the only chance is to go for a low health push on a 1.
He wasn't the one that had the Groza double kill. It was a member of, I believe, VG that got that.
Okay.
He was just sitting there on the backside. We forget how much of a benefit we have from being a spectator. We see exactly who is down, when, and where. They still have the kill feed, but it can sometimes be hard to really follow everything on it.
So let's take a look at this new amazing AR map that we've got here in the stadium, the flight path and the drops. You can see where they landed and where THC started the journey that ultimately brought them to the win. Through the drop zones of multiple teams, including right between where Oxy got their start, they came out in the end with a great victory. And that's kind of what you're going to expect to see on Miramar. Teams with short transitions tend to do the best, right? It's when you end up with Noble with those long transitions that you find yourself in the most trouble.
Yeah, and actually Noble, they haven't fully decided on a drop point here. They dropped last game on the northeast side, and then this previous one, they decided to go to the northwest because that wasn't working out, and still they're struggling to find something.
Look how congested the middle of the map is, and I think that's going to be a staple for Miramar going forward throughout this tournament. It's just so dangerous to do those long outside drops and try to make your way in. Featured teams in the next round. Smoking Aces, E United, and Oxymoron qualified. Team Envy was invited. Cameron, quick thought on each of those teams.
E United are going to be our young heroes. Smoking Aces, the Retconners. Oxymoron, the underdogs. And then Envy are, of course, the Sleeping Giants.
Wow, that was not only a concise wrap-up, but super quick. Well done. Let's go and see what those teams got going on. We'll check in with the players and then be done.
All right, thank you so much, Toffees and Cameron. Here we are. I'm back over here with Porosaurus and Rip.
Hello.
We're going to be moving into our 4th and final game of the night, but we're going back to the fan favorite.
Look, I'm still shook by the AR and seeing the drops of everybody and the path that THC took to the victory there. That is the coolest thing I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, but we got Smoking Aces on the screen right now. You see their average rank from the qual, 7.4, and a kind of low KD there, but you know, you've seen them taking out that first place victory here earlier today. They had the circle beautifully favoring them, but still, regardless of that, in the other rounds also doing very well for themselves. Always seems to be in a fight with C9.
Yeah, Oxymoron coming in here with a very kind of low average rank and low KDA, but they keep finding themselves in upping kind of the late game positions. They're just having a hard time transitioning into these late game circles. The circle's not doing them any favors today so far, but they can still turn it around.
Well, we talk about a lot, like people have their defined drop locations that they kind of really like to fight around. Naturally, the really strong gun-heavy teams tend to go for those center drops.
Yeah, and of course, you guys see E United here right now, 5.9 for their average rank, and the KD was second, or KD2 was the first overall actually for the entire quals, and the average damage also the first overall for the entire quals. They just have been playing fantastic. You've seen them all day today, doing great work throughout each and every round. Deal Hero most kills in the quals with 52. He's just on fire, and today as well, Pistola time, putting in work.
And here we go. Envy, one of the 8 teams invited to the MPL preseason. You can see all the boys there. They do have a sub with them in Wolf, filling in for Caden, who was not able to make it due to illness. But Wolf, a very, very capable substitute, been around for a long time, lots of time spent with Evil Geniuses. Envy, we saw them perform very, very well in Game 2, and I only expect them to get better as the day goes on, or the tournament goes on.
It seems like the Smoking Aces guys are feeling pretty good right now. I think it's, is that Divine Legit leaned over laughing just
That's a ponytail, so that would be Divine Legit.
That's the poof right there. All right. That's right. We're just going to sit there and stare at it. But that being said, we were kind of talking for just a second about how hard it is that for some of the teams that necessarily don't have the same strong gun power as some of the other teams, they're kind of forced to play some of these edge positions, and it's always going to make their rotations harder, especially whenever you have these very strong run and gun teams getting the center and already just sitting waiting to catch people in rotations.
Yeah, if you're going to be outgunned, you have to do better about getting to your preferred positions of power earlier, get there faster. Otherwise, it's going to be a really hard time for you to try to work from behind there.
And yeah, speaking of that, you know, E United just on the screen a second ago had that position earlier in Miramar. We saw them holding it down just before anyone could get there, and they held it for so long until the circle finally forced them out.
I mean, that comes down to one of the things with Miramar is the fact that you just have to know all of the super sneaky paths to make your way around through those maps. I know we keep talking about Miramar, but we're not going to Miramar this time around.
We're back. Erangel.
I love to see, there's Interrogate. He's got the smile. I love to see you smile, buddy, as he's there getting ready to go into this 4th and final game. We are heading, as you said, back to Erangel.
So with this, guys, we are going to remind you that, keep in mind, every single day is going to have different teams playing against each other. That's one of the reasons why we have this really cool 8 team rounds that we have going through here. So each one consists of its own little grouping. And so we're going to see, even if you tuned in today and you really love the action, you're going to get to see a whole new set of teams tomorrow.
This is the last time that Group A and Group D are going to see each other until Sunday if they happen to make it.
That's incredible. Of course, today A and D, tomorrow B and C, and then we start mixing things up.
And it starts getting real weird, Rip.
Now be A and C, B and D.
We were talking about strong gunning teams often kind of going for center locations. Envy tends to be one of the outliers inside of that strategy. They really enjoy going over towards military base.
Yeah, they've been doing military base for a long, long time now. They know exactly how to play it from there. And, you know, a lot of teams have a lot of trouble trying to make that transition from military up to the main island. Not Envy. They are at this point so used to it, they know exactly what to do.
Yeah, we also saw just a second ago Player One Esports taking that weird split that they've been doing, the 2-1-1 split off the corner, you know, the northwest corner of that military base.
Well, Envy just got themselves a little bit of a reward. You can hear Poro over there pretty giddy because if you look down on the mini-map, and we got the full map up there.
Oh my goodness.
The military base circle looks like might be coming our way. Keep in mind, we still have a lot of the island proper inside the circle. There's a lot of water to play around. That's going to make rotations a little bit more difficult. But we talked about beforehand with the river in round 1. Now you have to make that choice and commitment. Do you stay on the main island, or do you potentially go back down towards the military base?
Yeah, let me ask you guys this. You know, we talked about how in Phase 4, the circle moves away from water, right? So in that kind of a circle, which way does that move? Does that influence it more because it's more water in the southwest?
It tries its absolute hardest to get away from water. So if you end up with a lot of water in circles 1, 2, and 3, you can almost get a little bit of a read for where the 4th one's going to go. Now, keep in mind, it goes back to the RNG rules after that. But it's kind of interesting to see how players have that awareness around it.
And so phases 1, 2, and 3, it's still completely RNG about where the circle is going to move. It's only Phase 4 where it'll try to move away from water.
Tries to make that shift away, make sure that we don't have a whole bunch of mermaids or merfolk or, I don't know, fish, whatever you want to call them, running around in there.
Merfish?
Merfish.
Merfish.
Well, here we see the North and South Georgia Pole still occupied by Oxymorons, Smoking Aces, and Adapt.
So interesting.
Oxymoron, one of those teams that we are keeping an eye on this time.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me that this is the exact same drop that we saw earlier in round 1 today.
You know, and it's something that happens over time as these teams play each other. They kind of, the dividing lines become set, essentially. Like, if Smoking Aces says, okay, we don't want to go any farther west than this because we know that Oxy's going to be around that point, and we don't really want to give up a kill early, so we're just going to have this kind of line of demarcation, this friendly neighborhood thing set in stone. But it gets kind of interesting when you start getting into North George because of the vehicle situation, like we said, right?
Right, or if you end up actually having the circle go this direction, suddenly these very polite neighbors turn very mean to each other very quickly as they have to start fighting over the necessary resources. If you're a Georgia Pool team, or I don't even know, there's actually a team off in Zarky this time around, and that's going to be our Elder Wolves guys that we were talking about beforehand. This is going to be a very long rotation that they're going to have to make, and vehicles are a key factor in that.
Look, anytime you get a circle that has a preference, or it looks like it might actually go to military, and you decide as a team that you want to take your position onto military, you really have to make that transition quickly. We can see already 4 minutes in, Cloud9 in vehicles starting to make their way south. We're going to have to see where they decide to go.
And that you're kind of seeing people start to vie for those power points, for lack of a better term. Places that they feel they want to play around in such an odd circle as this. We actually might see a couple of teams already start doing a little bit of reconnaissance. I think that might be what Pride was looking back down there, looking for boats, jet skis, those type of things that might provide you the ability to go back and forth depending on how the circles play out.
Interesting.
Yeah, Wildcard, usually on circles like this, Wildcard will hang out in Primorsk as long as they can. They'll get their boats, make sure that they're okay, and they'll wait to see where the circle decides to go. And if it does look in Circle 2 like it's going to favor Military Island, then they'll make their way around. But Player One Esports, I want to keep in mind, they were talking about how they did this weird split. The reason they did that was so on situations like this, they can kind of do a bridge camp.
What's kind of interesting right now is you can see that we do have the Elder Wolves guys who we're watching right now. GB, he's way off to the north, just on the outskirts of Zarky. he's still not, you can tell he's not necessarily still feeling safe because he still keeps checking every single corner around them. They're playing with a little bit more, I almost want to say fear coming inside of these rounds right now, that they have to make sure that they're always on their toes.
Yeah, they've really got to be. They've had 2 really bad rounds out of the 4, out of the 3 that we've played so far. So here in round 4, they really have to do well for themselves.
Look, they're shook right now. I mean, you've had two really bad games, and I mean, they know very well that there should be nobody up there in Zarky. Nobody ever goes Zarky, but you still see him, like you said, playing extremely cautiously.
Yeah.
So that's a bad mindset to be in. You want them to shake off any previous bad games that they've had and just regroup and get their heads right.
And we don't see this happen all too often inside of competitive play, but when you get a circle like this, sometimes things get a little bit more spicy, a little bit closer to that matchmaking style, as it looks like Cloud9 might be contemplating doing a couple of bridge camps here, setting up in the positions, getting ready for it, but I think that they feel like, nah, okay, we're just going to go ahead and go for a full reposition onto Military Base Island. Nothing wrong with just choosing to scout it out. So one of the things that they were probably doing there was just trying to get vision back down to the other side of the bridge.
Yeah, you see Wildcard has already sent Pride over. P1 Esports going to be sending a boat underneath there. This might be a good spot for Moody and the rest of the C9 boys to pick off the P1 Esports guys.
Keep in mind, the Player One Esports took a couple of shots over at Cloud9, were aware of their position, so that's how come this is very smart from them. They decided to take their boat underneath of the bridge, so that way they wouldn't be lined up for shots.
They're running.
But Cloud9 is still hunting down kills, and it's going to be, does Nerf see this at this point? I think that he might have spotted out. They have a general location for it. Nerf's going for a couple of shots back over Dtreats, already down to about a 1/4 of his life. There he goes. Moody goes ahead and finishes it down, so that's just going to be a full flush. It's going to be one of the guys driving right in front of Nerf, and look at this. We already have David halfway down. Profi is just unrelenting, jumping into the UAZ, running down there. Oogly's just trying to come up and provide some type of some support for his teammates, but it's just going very badly for them.
Yeah, there's nothing that P1 could really do there. I mean, if you're going to go prone as soon as you start getting shot at, that just means that the entirety of C9 can then come around and get a better angle on you. I don't think they know that Oogly is in this compound, so that he might be able to stay safe for now and keep P1E in this. But C9 needs to figure out what they want to do, because I guarantee you they didn't come over here to take position at this spot where they're at. They want to get a better spot.
Well, we also still have Agila that's up towards the northern, still on the main island proper. So even if Oogly gets caught out, Player One Esports still has some form of survival left. But the problem comes into play. What do you do now? You've got a bridge separating your teammates. You don't want to make the swim. And what do you do whenever you're caught in a situation like this? What do you do, Rip?
That's exactly what I do. I get on top of a toilet and I take a dump. I mean, what else are you going to do?
You just hide out in there, just biding their time. This is one of the tried and true and one of the first strategies in PUBG.
It
just
truly is.
Find a bathroom, camp it.
Truly is. Well, I would not be surprised to see C9 hop back into those vehicles and try to claim one of these hills on the western side of Military Island. We've known those for some time now to be those really, really strong spots. Cloud9, when they play those hills, if this circle goes south and they're on that hill, they could end up with over 20 kills.
Speaking of some potential kills coming out, you can see Dill Hero making his way up the hillside. Dash has got that DP, trying to hit some shots on it. Not necessarily known for the highest accuracy.
Yeah, you can see that there by his life bar.
I mean, that's not the DP's purpose in life. It's just, I'm going to walk at people and spray. And what's the saying for it?
What do we say? Accuracy through volume.
Boom. There you go. Running through there. Look at that. Still hasn't even had to reload yet. So.
He's got a bike, though.
Yep, got some tools to work with. Military Base Island seems to be the go-to de facto for most of these teams, because a lot of times it's easier to get out of military base than it is to get to military base. But the hunt still continues as poor Oogly is just sitting there hearing the pitter-patter of little feet around him.
I think C9 put 2 and 2 together. They realized that they saw 2 get off of the boat, yet they got to this compound seat doors open. So I think they figured it out that there's probably one hiding in here. But the problem with this is, though, is C9 is going to spend so much time trying to find Oogly that they're not going to take those positions that they normally like to play. And instead, they're going to be playing these yellows.
Oh, well, look at this. It looks like Moody and Profi have regrouped to a certain degree. Nerf is already moving away. K-Mine, as you can see on the mini-map, already holding down the position on the outside of this, kind of being their bridge camp. If Moody and Profi hop on the same motorcycle, this could be Moody. A little dangerous. Is Oogly going to go for the shots onto it? Yes, he is. He hits Moody just a touch.
One of them?
But that's going to give away his spot. He does have the motorcycle set and prepped, so he's just going to open the door. Is he going to just hop on the motorcycle and try to get out of dodge? Can he get away? No, he's starting to realize he could be swarmed at this stage. 2 different windows. That's going to be all she wrote for Oogly. So, Agila, it's all on you, buddy.
It's all you. He's still on the main island. Plenty of time.
He hasn't even moved. He's just like, nope, I'm not even going to be a part of whatever's happening down there.
He's
whatever's
also on a toilet.
Whatever's happening on the military base, I just don't even go and have to deal with any
Talk
of that.
about Moody with 3 kills now. VG has made it over to the northern side of this island. It's worth pointing out that a majority of the teams electing to come over to Military Island, not a lot of them wanting to stay on the north side. We can see some slow rotators still that haven't made their way over, but I mean, I feel like the north side of the Military Island is so packed right now. Any of these teams that are still on the main island are going to have a really hard time when it comes time to transfer over.
There it goes. I was wondering when the Navy was going to come into play and who it was going to be. It looks like it's going to be Smoke and Aces, as well as THC Adam. You can see the rest of the THC guys playing right along that coastline. Remember, there are a lot of cliffs in that general vicinity, so you feel like your back is fairly protected. You just have to watch out for a couple of places where you can Skyrim your way up those sides of that cliff. But
some of the really strong spots on Military Island are still open, though, still available.
So it's all going to come down to which places do people pick, and uh-oh. Look at this, Envy is just finding time, looking back over towards K-Mine, taking a couple of shots that direction. Just going to hit a little bit. Actually, no, Venerated managed to line up the shot and get the down to it. Looks like K-Mine has managed to get to a point where he can potentially be safe. But look at everybody from Envy is beating back over that direction. And these are two teams. We talk about sometimes fear coming into play. This is going to be something Envy needs. They need that invigoration. They know they got it down onto K-Mine. They want these kills based off of it. They want to damage these guys because Cloud9 has been having a very decent day so far.
Real smart there from Moody, though, to take out those tires and can protect his teammate here. They do have the smoke down. He should be able to get the res. All they have to do is hop off the side of this bridge.
He is
just a pixel.
Just barely alive. I almost feel like a bullet could just ricochet off of something out of that and take him down. That is going to be so close. That had to be a shot from Wolf. That had to be one.
Just absolute ice water in his veins right there. He stuck the res, making sure that he got his teammate up, knowing that it was just a random bullet that happened to take him low. So, yep, there you see they're going to jump off the bridge, go rejoin their teammates. Is it United taking position right above Envy?
Oh, this is going to get ugly real fast.
And there you can hear it. They were paying attention, heard all the shots, realized what was happening inside the kill feed.
New circle.
Naturally, United, another one of those teams, not afraid. So they just stroll up and they're like, hey, we might want to become third party inside of this and get ourselves some free kills. M249 might actually show some worth inside of the circle, all depending on how we see it play out in the territories we see later on. The problem with it is choosing to carry it for so long.
I gotta say, this circle, I've seen this recently, and a good friend of mine and a community fixture, Mr. 17, would say this circle is 100% going north.
Really?
100%.
100%.
It's a running joke that anytime you make this hard of a commitment and there's like a smidgen of land up there, it's going to go to the north. So everybody's going to make their way down south, and then suddenly you're just going to see this mass exodus as everybody, all the players are just going to groan as it makes its way back north, and everybody has to figure out how to get away from each other. Oh, and speaking of this, look at this trap just set and waiting by the Smoke and Aces guys managing to net themselves double downs.
Unfortunate there for the THC boys.
Levi and Adam, they're not letting them get the kills.
They're running down into the water and drowning themselves.
Oh my gosh.
But at least they get the loot, right?
Easy clap.
Yeah. Next level strats coming through there.
Yeah, that was smart.
Well, I mean, they're still going to get the kills, but
yeah, I mean, it still counts off of the knock. So.
They don't want to give them the gratification.
Jason,
hey,
you
there's
gotta be
a tree.
careful. Yeah, you don't end up killing yourself there, buddy.
So yeah, like we said, a lot of these teams in a very small amount of real estate on the northwestern side of this military island. But we have Elder Wolves, Oxymoron, and it looks like Crew, and one member of Adapt still on the mainland here.
So this is where the gamble comes into play. If Oxy ends up being correct, they have one of the best places to play the rest of these circles at.
Oh my gosh.
The problem with it is, math isn't really in your favor for this.
100% going north.
100% going north.
100% going. That's math in your